Hello and welcome to another IELTS writing video. Today we are going to run through another lexical resource quiz. I hope you find this lesson helpful. For more lessons like this one, please visit my blog at IELTS.com. So today's quiz is using an essay that I wrote in response to an IELTS question seen in Melbourne, Australia recently. The question reads, some people feel that TV advertisements do not serve a useful purpose. What is your opinion? Now, before we get to the quiz itself, I want to talk about this essay question because I think that the way it is worded is interesting, and I think that certain parts of the question may be confusing for students. So for example, at the beginning here we have some people feel. Now often in discussion essay writing, phrases like this are used. So I can see how a student who reads this essay question might think initially, okay, this essay question is talking about different points of view, so maybe I should be responding using a discussion essay structure. But as I've pointed out in my other videos, that what you need to do is focus on what the question actually says. So down here we have, what is your opinion? That is the question portion of this task description. And the question is not asking us or instructing us to analyze the opinions of other people. It's not asking us to discuss a topic or to look at the pros and cons, or the advantages and the disadvantages, the causes and the effects. Nothing like that at all. It's directly asking us for our opinion. And when we are asked to state our opinion or to argue our opinion, we are going to respond using an argument essay structure. Okay, so even though the instruction portion of the question uses the word opinion, which sometimes can also lead students to think that they are being asked to write a discussion essay, even though it has the word opinion in it, it's directly asking us for our opinion. So this is going to be an argument essay. Okay, now let's get to the quiz itself. You've probably run through the quizzes that I've done in the past. Basically, I'll stop at certain points and you will have a selection of words to choose from. And there are 8 questions in total, and you need to select the correct word as we go along. So I hope that this lesson helps you learn a few new words and helps show you how to use those words properly in an essay. Okay, so the essay starts, although most people dislike the interruption advertisements bring to their TV viewing, it would be difficult to argue that televised commercials do not serve a useful purpose. Okay, so we're starting the essay. We've already started talking about the topic, which is advertisements on TV, and we've actually started to narrow it to what our opinion is. It is thus felt that commercials perform several necessary things for the TV viewing experience, or undertake several necessary things for the TV viewing experience, or display several necessary things for the TV viewing experience. Okay, and the correct answer here would be perform. The word undertake is similar to the word do, as in an action that a person would do. So I don't think we would say that commercials undertake several necessary things. That'd be kind of awkward. So that's not the word we want. And display several necessary things for the TV viewing experience, also not correct. So, perform. Among these things, channel funding and consumer stimulation are seen to be the most important and will be discussed in this essay. Okay, so what we've done in this sentence is we've stated point number 1 and point number 2 that we're going to be talking about, and those are the 2 points that are going to appear in the subsequent supporting paragraphs. Now let's get to first supporting paragraph. For one, commercials are one of the few ways TV channels can monopolize themselves, or undermine themselves, or monetize themselves. I'll give you a second to come up with your answer. And the correct answer here would be monetize. So the word monetize means to create revenue from. So as we listed in the introduction paragraph, our first supporting point was going to be about funding. So the correct answer here would be monetize. Monopolize is a word that means to control an entire industry, and undermine is a word that means to sort of damage or destroy the foundation of something. So I'm trying to think of an example where there is something that undermines another thing. Maybe if the employees in a company, they disagree with what the management of that company is doing, and then they take certain actions to undermine maybe the direction of the company. So they would take certain actions to hurt the foundation of the company. Maybe that's a bad example, but undermine is just to erode the foundation of something. So that would not be the correct answer here. So, monetize. For instance, local citywide channels that have a rather small viewership or viewer or audiences depend on advertisement revenue for their very existence. Okay, I'll read the sentence again. For instance, local citywide channels that have a rather small viewership, viewer audiences depend on advertisement revenue for their very existence. Okay, the correct answer would be viewership. We wouldn't say a rather small viewer. Viewer is referring to a person. I believe this would be the agent noun here because we're adding ER. So this would be referring to one person, and we're not talking about only one person. We can't use the word audiences because this is plural, and here we have the word a, so that wouldn't work either. A rather small viewership would be the correct answer. If the word had been audience, that would have worked as well. Were these sorts of channels unable to sell advertising time, they would likely be impossible of maintaining themselves financially, or they would likely be rogue of maintaining themselves financially, or they would likely be incapable of maintaining themselves financially. So were these sorts of channels unable to sell advertising time, they would likely be incapable of maintaining themselves financially. Incapable would be the right answer. Impossible wouldn't work. The word rogue refers to a person or an entity that leaves a group and sort of goes off to act on its own. It's usually used in sort of a negative way. So it has a negative connotation. Often people will say going rogue. So if we talk about the employees of a company going rogue, that would mean that the employees are starting to act on their own and maybe not doing what the management is wanting them to do. So rogue would not be the right answer here. Here we're talking about how they would be likely incapable of maintaining themselves financially. Thus, this proves the usefulness of TV advertisements. So that concludes our first point, and we've shown how this supporting point supports our thesis. We've shared an example, and we've tied the whole thing back at the essay level. So this would be a very strong supporting paragraph. Now let's go on to the second supporting paragraph. In addition to this, TV commercials help to stimulate spending, which is healthy for economies. For instance, Apple's heavy TV advertising campaign in the US was key to the development of its heavy electronics market share, or sizable electronics market share, or fortunate electronics market share. For instance, Apple's heavy TV advertising campaign in the US was key to the development of its... Now we can't say the word heavy. That would work, but we can't say it because we've already said heavy in this sentence, and we don't want to be repeating our words too often. So that's not going to be the answer. Fortunate, well, that's sort of like saying lucky. So we probably here wouldn't want to say it's lucky electronics market share. That doesn't really make sense. What we're trying to say is that the electronics market share is of considerable size. So the correct word here would be sizable. So for instance, Apple's heavy TV advertising campaign in the US was key to the development of its sizable electronics market share. Thus, in part due to television ads, Apple has become one of the most valuable companies in the world and an asset to the US economy. Or, thus, slightly due to television ads, Apple has become one of the most valuable companies in the world and an asset to the US economy. Or, thus, on par due to television ads, Apple has become one of the most valuable companies in the world and an asset to the US economy. Okay, so the answer is not on par. That would be grammatically incorrect. The word on par, the phrase on par means to match something. So you could say, for example, her writing is on par with that of a band 9 student, which would just mean that her writing is the same or similar to that of a band 9 student. So just for clarity's sake, on par with, it's often used. So on par with something else means kind of to be the same as or similar to. Slightly would be grammatically correct, but that would not work because in the sentence prior to this one, we mentioned that TV advertising was key, which means that it was probably more than slightly part of the reason that Apple was able to capture so much market share. So slightly would not be the right answer. The right answer would be in part. And this phrase here is often used together. So in part due to something. If you want to say that something came as a result of another thing, maybe not completely the result of that thing, but partially due to that thing, then in part due to would be a good phrase to use. So thus, in part due to television ads, Apple has become one of the most valuable companies in the world and an asset to the US economy. Helping to create movement, agitation, excitement within economies is therefore another reason why television commercials should be seen as having a useful purpose. Okay, let's try that again. Helping to create movement, agitation, excitement within economies is therefore another reason why television commercials should be seen as having a useful purpose. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to read that to yourself. Okay, so the correct answer is not agitation. Agitation would be sort of negative movement or nervous or erratic movement. So we're not talking about unhealthy or negative movement within economies. I actually keep saying the right answer myself. The answer is movement. So helping to create movement within economies. So helping to create movement within economies is therefore another reason why television commercials should be seen as having a useful purpose. Following this look at how advertisements on TV both allow television networks to attain, sustain, aspire themselves financially, and provide stimulation to the economy, it is clear that televised advertisements have important roles to play. Following this look at how advertisements on TV both allow television networks to attain, sustain, aspire themselves financially, okay, now this is the concluding paragraph. The first sentence of our concluding paragraph should be a summary of what we've talked about in the supporting paragraphs. And if you remember, our first point was that television commercials can help networks to maintain themselves financially. So which word would mean the same as maintain here? That would be sustain. Following this look at how advertisements on TV both allow television networks to sustain themselves financially and provide stimulation to the economy, it is clear that televised advertisements have important roles to play. It is therefore expected that this advertising medium will not disappear anytime soon. So we finish our essay with a prediction. Okay. I hope that video was helpful. Please post a comment. Maybe you could let other viewers know how many questions you got correct out of 8. And I hope to see you at my blog. Thank you for watching.